Hey guys, I want to show you how to make this super cool magic folding photo cube. There are 10 different photos featured here. Every time you open and fold it, a new one is exposed. Let's get started. Okay, the first thing you need to make your photo cube is 8 wooden blocks. I like a 1.5 inch size. It works really great for a nice 3-inch block. You could use something else if you want, but this works really well. The next thing you're going to need is some large sheets of double-sided tape. This is a red liner tape that we have manufactured in large sheets. Check out the link below for where to get it. Let me show you why I like this stuff so much. Here's a small piece of it. When you peel off one liner and then you peel off the other liner, what you're left with is this sheet of really durable, really plasticky, strong double-sided tape. This is exactly what you need to be able to make these hinges work so well. It's not going to wear off. You're going to get a nice, really good hinge. You're also going to want to print out some photos. Print them on regular paper. Do not use photo paper because you need a pretty thin paper for these hinges to be able to work. There are 10 photos total. 8 of them are going to be 3 by 3, and then 2 of them are going to be 3 by 6. That way you get this nice big display. The rest are just going to be 3 by 3. For demonstration purposes, I am printing my photos just with a giant number on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This will make it a lot easier for me to show you the steps. It will match the instructions that are on our blog if you want to check that out. And it keeps things nice and simple and clear for this demonstration. Once you've got your photos printed on the paper, the first thing you're going to want to do is attach your double-sided tape sheets to the back. So let's go ahead and peel off one side of this. My photos are under here. And we'll just stick it right on there. This is what's so great about this 8.5 by 11 sheet. It makes it so easy to have one giant sheet of photos ready to go. So I'm going to do that with the other sheet, and we'll be right back. Now that I've got both sheets of photos covered with the double-sided tape on the back, they need to be cut out. You're going to want to cut the squares to 3 by 3, and the rectangles, you want 3 inches, but this 6 inch, you want just a little bit more because you're going to actually be spanning some blocks there, so a little bit extra, maybe like 3 1/16. So I'm just going to use my paper trimmer to cut these out. Okay, I've got all my photos cut out to size here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I want to show you this cut guide that I've got here. You can find this on our blog. I'll try to link to it below as well. But this is going to tell you how we're going to cut each of these photos. You can see I numbered them to the colors to match the diagram to try to make everything easier. So number 1, we're going to cut into 4 pieces. 2, we're going to cut into 2, like that. I'm going to walk you through all of these, but this is a good guide to have printed out nearby so that you remember how to cut them. So let's start with number 1, which we want to cut into 4 equal pieces. So we're going to go right down the middle at 1.5 inches. And then this will actually sort of stay stuck together because of the stickiness of the tape. We'll go this way to 1.5 inches. There we go. Now we've got this cut right down the middle. I can gently peel those apart. And there are my 4 pieces of this photo. So I'm going to continue through all of them, following this diagram here to cut the pieces to the right shape to fit on our cubes. Number 2, we're going to cut across this way. Like this. Okay, number 3 is a little bit tricky. This one we're going to want to cut 4 pieces in the middle and then 2 on either side. So we're going to start with these 2 on the edge because that'll be easier. So we're going to come in 1.5 inches. Everything is 1.5 inches because our cubes are 1.5 inches. So we'll do that. And there's our first piece. Now we want 1.5 inches from this side. So that's the piece for that side. Now this we need to cut into 4. So it should be right down the middle. There we go. And there are our pieces for that one. All right, now let's move on to number 4. Number 4, we cut in 4 big rectangles that way. That one should be pretty easy. We'll start by going right down the middle here. Turn it, go to 3 inches, and there we go. That's our 4 pieces here. It definitely helps to have a nice sharp blade on your paper trimmer so that you get your nice shape. There's number 4. Okay, number 5 is going to go straight down this way, and we'll go ahead and look at number 6, which is going to go this way. So 5 is down, 6 is this way. As you're doing this, you may want to choose your photos based on the way you know they're going to cut. For example, if you have a photo with a face in the middle of it, you might not want to split right across a face. That's up to you if you want to take a look at your different photos and choose them to match. And there's number 6, which goes that way. Okay. Number 7 is another 4-way cut. That's an easy one. We've done that a couple times already. There's 7 in our 4 pieces. Number 8, we want to do a sideways cut into 2. There's number 8. Number 9 and 10 are very similar, and they're something we haven't seen before. So for 9, we're going to cut the top half off first, then cut the bottom in 2. For 10, we're going to cut the bottom half off first and cut the top in 2. Very similar and technically sort of the same if you were to flip your picture around. But again, you might want to position your photos so that key elements are on the big pieces, not the little pieces. That's up to you depending on your photos. But for 9, we're going to start by cutting the top half off, like that, and then we'll cut the bottom into 2. And then for 10, remember, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to cut the bottom off first and cut the top into 2. Okay, I've laid out numbers 5 through 10 here just for quick reference so you can see how they are. Matching the cut guide, this is pretty good. Obviously, your numbers, your photos are not going to have big numbers on it. I'm just doing this to make it easy for the demonstration. But let me show you an example of what number 9 would look like with pictures. This is one. See how there's a big piece and 2 little? This is a solid piece and this is 2 little. See how they go on there? So that's how your photos are going to be. This one is 2 pieces across, like a number 6. So just trust the guide, use your photos. If you can't remember which one is which, because of course yours are not going to have numbers on it, you can maybe put a little post-it note on it, or just keep them sitting on the table in the order that they are on this. Maybe print this out and have it as a reference, and then you'll be able to keep it straight. So now we are going to get started on assembly. Okay, let's talk about the blocks again before we actually assemble this. I have sanded these lightly. Most of the block is not going to show, but you definitely don't want any rough edges. And if you really don't want any of the wood to show as wood color, you could paint these if you want, white, black, red, any color you want. Maybe just paint the edges. That's up to you. The other thing I want to talk about is the spacing between the blocks. So if these blocks were smack up against each other, there wouldn't be room for paper in between. See right here how those are not block to block? There's actually a photo and double-sided tape and a photo and double-sided tape between those two. So we need to account for that extra padding in between so that spans like this and separations like that are okay. So what we need is 2 sheets of paper to match the 2 sheets of paper and 3 sheets of double-sided tape to really account for it. So what I've done is I've just taken some scraps here. I'm going to peel off the liner and I will stick three of these pieces of double-sided tape together just to get the width that I need. Peel off the liner. It's a little tricky because it's very sticky, but trust me, if you do not do this, you will never get a nice, smooth, working hinge on your photos like you want. So we'll get all of this liner off. Okay, there's 3 pieces of clear tape there, and then 2 pieces of paper, the same paper I printed on. So I'm going to stick that in there and on the other side. It doesn't really matter that this is messy. The point is you really need that thickness. Once you've got that all put together, you can very easily just cut it and trim it. You only need a piece at least 3 inches long and, you know, a 1/2 inch wide or so will be fine. But this amount of space right here is going to be exactly what we need to keep blocks apart for some of the assembly. See how there's now that little bit of space there? It's going to be crucial. So you'll see as we go. Okay, we're finally ready to start assembling. The first thing I'm going to do is take 4 of the blocks. We don't need these yet, but these 4 I'm going to sit lined up perfectly, and we're going to put photo number 1 on. Now you're going to see all these little tabs on them. I went ahead and did the peeling ahead of time so that it was way easier for me to do this for you without fiddling with trying to get it. But usually if you just stick your fingernail in there, you can get that liner off. So we're going to take the 4 blocks and put it on the 4 pieces of the photo and put it on these 4 blocks. Now the center of the photo, you're going to always want to go to the center of the cube to line it up perfectly. So here's our 4 pieces of the photo. We're going to line up the pieces, you know, try to get that one straight as much as we can. Okay, there's number 1. Now we can set that aside and let's work on number 2. And number 2 is the first one where we're going to need our spacer that we made. And we're going to put the spacer in here between those blocks because we need that gap running right down the middle. If you remember, number 2 has 2 of these pieces and each one is going to span, and there's going to be photos in here later, so we need to account for the space for those photos later. Makes sense, right? So let's put number 2 right there, and the other half here on the bottom. Now let me show you again what that spacer did. See that nice gap in there? When there's a photo and tape here, photo and tape, there'll be room. Okay, so we have 1 and 2 done. We're going to take 1, hold them all together, and very carefully flip it this way, upside down. Okay, and then number 2 is going to sit right on top. Then you need to grab the sides. I'm getting 4 cubes in each hand and fold them down into the middle. That was quite a step there, but that is what you need to get this span for photo number 3. If you remember, number 3 is our first big 3x6 with lots of pieces, so that's going to cross all of this. Now, to put these 2 here, this is a span, so we're going to want to put our spacer in there again. Squish them nice and tight together. Now we're going to take this piece. If you remember, we cut it off of the left side there, and we're going to put this right over those 2 blocks. The next 4 are going to be pretty easy because they're just individuals, so there's no need for a spacer when you only have 1 cube, obviously. You can take that out for now. Put the bottom of number 3 here. Okay, and then for the other side, of course, we're going to need our spacer again for this span right here. And we're going to take our last little piece and put it right there. Now I'm going to show you what I've noticed here is that these pieces ran a little bit long. If that happens, you can very carefully pick them up, and you see that extra? You can take your scissors and just sort of cut it right there to get that trimmed tight. You don't want that sticker paper sticking out too far. Okay, there's number 3. Now to move on to number 4, we have to do another very tricky fold. So we're going to push all these together. I'm going to do this actually in pieces. We're going to fold this up into itself. We're going to fold these up into themselves, and then this one. So number 3 is now inside, and we have another big 3x6 area here for number 4. Number 4 is these pieces here. So it's 4 big rectangles that are going to span these. So we need our spacer again. So we're going to plop this spacer right in here and start putting the pieces of number 4 in place. All right, let's take that spacer out and move it over to this side. The good news is if you make several of these, you can reuse that spacer as many times as you want. So it was a little complicated to make, but it's a good tool going forward. Okay, there's number 4. Okay, moving from number 4 to number 5, we have to do another crazy fold. We're going to take this edge and lift it up, and then the left side and lift it up, and expose a nice 4x4 block. Here's our spacer fell out. We don't need this anymore. So here's our 4x4 block that we can put number 5 on. Number 5 has 2 tall pieces. You see this bunched up paper in between here? This is good. This is why we had that spacer there, and we're going to be good from now on. So let's put number 5 across those 2. Number 6 goes, or the other half of number 5 goes here, okay? Now we're going to take the whole thing and turn it once to the left. And we're going to put number 6 on, and you can already see that there's a gap here, and these are solid, which means we're probably going this way, which matches our number 6 photo. So we'll put this piece on top. We'll put the next piece on the bottom. Okay, now we're going to do another turn this way, and we're going to pull number 7 over. 7 has these 4 little pieces, which are going to go on these 4 blocks. That's an easy one. Okay, now that we've got number 7 on, we're going to turn again to the left, and we're going to pull in number 8. It's very similar to the one that we just did a couple steps ago. The 2 pieces of 8 are going to go across like this. All right, now with number 8, what we're going to do is turn it once to the left. You see number 5 again. Now we're going to pull it down towards us. And this is where number 9 is going to go. And again, if you separate a little, you can see there's 1 piece and 2, which matches our pieces for 9. So you can always kind of double check as you're going to make sure that what you're doing seems to make sense. You can get this tape back off if you need to, maybe once, but it loses a lot of its stick. So you want to try to get that right every time if you can. I'm obviously going a little quickly here just for demonstration purposes, but okay, number 9, now we're going to turn towards us and towards us. And here's our last one, number 10, right? And that's going to match our pieces. So let's do the bottom one first. Number 10. Number 10 was the last photo, right? So that means that we're almost done. There is number 10. Now you can move it all you want, and you can see all of the photos as you fold and unfold. Now you might notice that some of the edges are a little bit sticky where the tape is exposed. I just take a tissue, something very linty, and just sort of rub it on the edges. You could, rub it on a towel or anything like that. And this lint will stick to the edge of the tape and will make it work much better. And there you go. There is our photo cube.